Right, so hidden marketing. Every so often, one of these list games comes across my feed where you are supposed to ask your followers or something about various questions, various issues. And while some of them are designed to familiarize you with whoever the answer is, there are others that are like blatant marketing. However, I think I'm going to answer some of these, or at least this one, as this one looks kind of fun. I'll point out the ones that I'm talking about firsthand, though. And to be clear, uh, one, that sound you hear is the fan. It's hot here. Uh, but not all of these are straight up just free advertising, but they're actually gathering. There are people watching shit like this, chain letters and shit, that are gathering metrics for bigger companies, or at least, very least, their marketing departments. Anyway, on with it. Number one, first game you played obsessively. Obsessively to the point where I like needed the game. Wow, that's probably Pacific Theater of Operations or Halo. And oh yeah, there's a Halo video coming. I got plenty to say about that game. Two, a game that has influenced you creatively, writing, drawing. Star Control 2. It had all of the adventure elements that I have wanted before and since, and I have tried to write that into my own, that sense of grand scale adventure, uh, and the living world that game had into my own endeavors. Three, who did you play with as a kid? Myself. Four, who do you play with now? A lot of people, thankfully. Five, ever use cheat codes? Jesus, like all the time, but only when I'm trying to accomplish something specific. Like the last game I used cheat codes on was Stellaris. That game has a steep learning curve, and there's only one way out of like a 12-hour situation that I had basically built myself into, and that was by cheating. I learned my lesson, and I don't do that now. Six, ever buy strategy guides? Buy? No. I kind of like to figure this stuff out myself, so no. There were a few games in recent history where, oh shit, I guess it's not recent history now. Tales of Vesperia. If you didn't get the strategy guide with that, you're just kind of lost. Uh, the Star Oceans, all the recent ones. If you didn't get the strategy guide for those, you were up shit creek. Not that they couldn't be played. It's just that there was a lot of rando shit that they really didn't explain. Oh well. Any games you have multiple copies of? Strangely enough, Bulletstorm from I done forgot the from the people that made Gears of War. Jesus, I can't remember the name. It's late. Uh, I had uh, I had accidentally uh, knocked over my Xbox. It was standing up at the time, and we were about to play Bulletstorm, and of course that beat the living shit out of the CD, so I had to go buy another one. Oddly enough, I think I have every copy of Final Fantasy IV released. I've got the original cartridge that was fat, and then I have the slimmer cartridge, the Chronicles remake, the GBA re-release, the DS re-release, and the PSP re-release. I think the only version of that I don't have is on Steam, oddly enough. 8. Rarest, most expensive game in your collection. I just told you, more than likely. 9. Most regrettable purchase. As far as gaming is concerned, shit. Um, I do a lot of research on my games, so I couldn't tell you that for the life of me. It more than likely was something on the original Xbox, though. If that tells you anything. 10. Ever go to a midnight game release or stand in line for hours? I've never had to stand in line for hours, but I went to the Halo 2 game release, the midnight release, I should say. Uh, that one, something triggered an allergy of mine. I didn't almost die, but I figuratively almost died in the line. That was terrible. Mass Effect 2, I already said. Halo 2, and I think that's like it, honestly. Funny story for Mass Effect. I actually picked up Tatsunoko versus Capcom while I was there because, well, it was there. 11. Have you ever made new friends from playing video games? Yes. I thought that was a crock of shit. I thought people that got really into EverQuest and shit were just bullshitting. And no, I've actually found several great dudes playing League of Legends. 12. Ever get picked on for liking games? Not in recent years, not for like 20 years, but like in grade school, elementary school, yeah, that's back when you could still get your ass kicked for knowing too much about Nintendo games. 13. A game you've never played that everyone else has. The Elder Scrolls Skyrim. I will never play that game. Favorite game, 14. Favorite game music. Ooh. Um, the quick answer is Final Fantasy IV, the like original SNES and SNES version. If you can listen to uh, Zeramus, the Zeramus theme, the boss theme, the Four Fiends theme, or just the regular battle music, and tell me that is not one of the the greatest video game soundtracks of that era, and therefore of all time. I don't know what to tell you. However, honorable mention will go in that same vein to Chrono Trigger and Valkyrie Profile. There, I listen to way too much game music for the record. I should probably make a video about that now that I think of it. 15. If it was a requirement to get a game-related tattoo, what would you pick? At I can't believe I just remembered that. At one of the local fairs, I had the title UN Squadron put on my head, and nobody knew what the hell that was or what it meant, but I did, and I'd probably do it again somewhere, although not necessarily on my forehead. Where were we? Favorite game to play with your friends in real life? I don't even understand that question. Like the game has to be played in real life, like a board game, or like my real life friends? Because aren't those the same things? My favorite game to play with friends would be uh, insert fighting game here. I don't know if that is the answer to that question though. If it was like a board game or something, then none. I really can't stand board games, but that's not their fault. That has something to do with over the past few years, but we won't get into that. Normally I end the video after we won't get into that, but we won't get into that. 17. Ever lose a friend over a game? Like I said, all of this is coming in the Halo video. there, there were conflicts over that game. There was fallout over performance in that game. It was crazy. 18. Would you date someone that hates gaming? It's such a big part of me. I don't know. I don't know. That's a pretty binary response. You'd think you'd be able to come to uh, an understanding of some kind if that was the criteria that was being placed on you. But even then, I mean, who's not a gamer nowadays? What is that criteria? Like, I spend hours and hours and hours in front of my TV screen slash monitor. That does that make me more of a gamer than somebody that spends hours and hours and hours on Candy Crush? In many ways, those guys are better at games than I am. So, favorite handheld console? Probably the DS, the Nintendo DS, the original one. And that had more to do with the amount of games that I really, really liked on that thing. Honorable mention goes to the PSP, because once uh, the Once I jailbroke mine, or whatever the hell you want to call it, I actually saw what the PSP was trying to do, and it was not successful in that. 20, game that you know like the back of your hand. That's several. UN Squadron on the Super Nintendo, Cyberdator on the Super Nintendo, uh, definitely Final Fantasy IV. And if I could plug something I did in the original Halo Combat Evolved, I went through that whole game on Legendary without dying. Every episode beaten without dying. 21, game that you didn't like or understand as a kid but love now. Yikes. That's. I think that's kind of how you. That's a litmus test for what I would consider a gamer. Like, did you stay for those games? Did that genre stay with you? Because I played the shit out of the original Dragon Warrior, and I cannot touch that series anymore. Actually, I played the shit out of the original Dragon Warrior 1 through 3, maybe 4, and I cannot touch that series now. I gave that up. Didn't understand. I strove to understand the games because I wanted to be. I wanted to know the game. I wanted to play the game. I had fun playing it. But I mean, as a kid, for me, shit, that would honestly probably be something like Guilty Gear, where I really didn't know what was going on until, now. Now that I understand spacing and priority and such. But I sure as fuck didn't then. I was like, wow, bright colors. 22. Do you wear game-related clothing or accessories? Yes, and not nearly enough of it. One of my dudes has a Metal Slug t-shirt that I've always been jealous of. I want, like, all of that. Number 23. The game that you've logged the most hours into, that was probably Phantasy Star Online. For a while there, for the better part of an entire year, if not more so, there were 3 of us, including myself, that would meet Friday night. I know, we were losers. Friday night, and that's what we would play. And it wasn't even like the Dreamcast version at the time, it was the GameCube version. And we would just play Phantasy Star Online. We had, it was like a big deal at one point for us when we finally got into like the last difficulty, the hardest difficulty, and we changed the way we all looked, because you could do that for some reason, and we we had to stop the game and really mull over it. We were so dedicated to the characters and whatever. Number 24, your first Pokemon game. My first Pokemon game was Pokemon Red, damn it. And with this blow up Pokemon Go, people fucking think I opted out of Pokemon Go, but people think I know anything about Pokemon at all, and it's crazy because I played the dick out of that game. 25. Were you ever an arcade game player? Yes, I was. When I could get my hands on the old arcade sticks, I would do it. There's an extended summer, I think it was the summer of 2002 when Soul Calibur 2 came out. Our local arcade was lucky enough to get a machine that broke repeatedly, and that did not dissuade us from playing it at all. 26. Ever form any gaming rivalries? The Halo video. I'm probably going to start outlining as soon as I'm done with this. I'm probably going to start outlining that video. Number 27, games that make you rage. The MOBA genre. Everything is on such a well-crafted, not in the way of League of Legends, at the very least. Anyway, the games are supposed to be crafted on a well-balanced knife's edge, so if somebody just derps out, that could just blow the whole team, and that could blow the whole hour for you. And that just really gets to me, especially when I'm drinking. Number 28, ever play in a tournament? Several. I'll have to make a video about the sandwich match, too. My highest rank I ever got was 3rd in a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 tournament, and I'm fucking proud of that. Number 29, what is your gaming setup? Like specifically, this is one of those hidden marketing questions, by the way, because they want to know what kind of hardware you use, and if enough people show up with the same thing, then they'll, I don't know, try to use that somehow. I don't know how they think. I just know what to look for. My gaming setup is two computers, a laptop, and every modern console that doesn't have a four or a bone in its name. Uh, how many consoles do you own? Several. From the original Nintendo, uh, I guess I can just name it Nintendo, Super Nintendo, uh, DS, original Game Boy, GameCube, the Genesis Sega CD combo. I passed on the 32X and the Jaguar. I do have a Saturn somewhere, but I don't think I ever played it. The Dreamcast, the 360, the 360 Slim, my PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and I hope to get a PlayStation 4 here because, Super Robot Wars. PSP, and I think that's it. I do have a Panasonic Real 3DO. That's kind of the pride and joy of the collection. Though I don't know where the hell that thing is. I know I moved it. Oh well. Does the 3DS and or Virtual Boy hurt your eyes or give you a headache? The 3DS? No, it just didn't have any fucking games on it that I wanted to play. And there's one of my dudes had a Virtual Boy. He used it famously as a doorstop after like the first couple of weeks. Number 32, did you ever play a game based on your favorite show, cartoon, movie, or comic? Probably back, but I remember at one point I was really into the Rocketeer, and I'm still into the Rocketeer, and like they had an NES game, and that game kind of sucked. That's like really it. Like I passed on, like the Chronicles of Riddick was a really good game, but like that didn't. I mean, I wouldn't call that my favorite movie. Movie tie-ins are kind of rough. The same thing for cartoon tie-in games; those are really rough to do. Number 33, did you ever have any bootleg games or plug-and-play games? My DS and my PSP both had flash cards. Number 34, do either of your parents play video games? No. Number 35, either or ever work in a game store, or do you have a favorite game shop? I worked for Hollywood Video for a time, and at the very end of that little journey, they started selling video games. So we were trying to compete with GameStop. And I'm going to count that because I had to answer some really stupid questions. Got to help out a lot of people, though, too. So it evens out. 36. Have you ever shed actual blood, sweat, or tears over a game? RC Pro-Am, the first, like one of the first Nintendo games I ever played. I cried. Again, I could not figure it out. I was like 6, though, and those were like original Nintendo games. But like, cripes, actual blood? Holy crap! No. I know one of our dudes like frequently gets blisters if he's on a controller for too long. 37. Have you played E.T. for the Atari 2600? Do you think that's the worst game ever, or do you have another nomination? I do not have any nominations. Oh, Final Fantasy All the Bravest. It has been the worst game ever for like 4 years in a row for me. And I never played E.T., so yeah. 38. A game you're ashamed to admit that you like? I've never been ashamed of any of the games that I liked. Because normally they have a reason that I like them. They normally have a fundamental aspect that is true that just resonates with me. So I'm gonna go ahead and say no to that. 39. A sequel that you would die for them to make. What would be the point of dying for a sequel? I think I'm taking that one too literally. Senko no Ron. For I'd like there was already a sequel for that called Senko no Ron Duo. I would love to play it, but we're probably never getting that over here. 40. What do you think of virtual reality headsets or motion controls? Control does not need to be complicated to be immersive. That has everything to do with the setting and the presentation. of whatever game that you're building. Uh, Ask people if they jumped at Five Nights at Freddy's or the original Dead Space more. Which one did they jump at, and which one really creeped them out? That had nothing to do with control schemes. VR is probably another gimmick. Like I was alive during the '90s, so like, and we were talking about VR then. Ever see the movie The Lawnmower Man? I approached it, especially when I saw the price tags to the various sets. I approached it with uh, skepticism. There is no killer app for VR, and Wii Sports was the killer app for motion controls. They should have just put like this giant 50-hour compilation of sports games that you use the motion control, and that made even more banking than they already did. 41, a genre that you just can't get into. Most people that I know would probably expect me to say sports here, but it's not true. I have an extensive sports gaming background. But that I just can't get into? No, I'm willing to give just about anything a try. I'm not a terribly big fan of MMOs, however, though I just reinstalled Star Trek Online, so take that with a grain of salt. 42. Maybe it wasn't your first game, but what was the game that started you on your path to nerdiness? Probably Final Fantasy 4 slash 2, 2 slash 4. Number 43. Ever play games when you really should have been concentrating on something else? I'm like all the time. Jeez, I'm like trying to make my own game, and I'm just like, well, guess I'll play This Is the Police for a little bit. I guess I'll get in a couple of Overwatch rounds. 44. Arcade machine that has consumed the most of your quarters. I think the most money I have spent on a arcade game was Time Crisis 3. Me and one of my dudes, one of my best dudes, we just, one day after school, we said, okay, we got like $20 between the two of us, and we are not leaving without that game fucking dying. And we lost. We lost every freaking quarter we had, but then we came back the next week with even more cash and we spent it. 45. How are you at Mario Kart? Battle, bad. The racing aspect, pretty mediocre, I'd say. I wouldn't say that I'm good at it, but I frequently take first amongst my friends. The DS version was my house, and they didn't let me play Double Dash, but the Mario Kart Wii game, I routinely me and Daisy are at the front of the pack normally. Do you like 46? Do you like relaxing games like Animal Crossing or Harvest Moon? I think once I read what Harvest Moon was supposed to be, I sort of wrote that entire genre off. And I wouldn't call them relaxing. That's almost talking down to them. Go read the wiki article on what Harvest Moon is supposed to be. I was just completely turned off to it after I did that. Number 47, do you like competitive games? Yes. Number 48, how long does it take to customize your player character? That was a incorrect sentence. How long does it take you to customize your player character? In games where that is present, a fairly long time, but it's almost always a work in progress. Never am I like, this guy looks perfect, now we can get into it. There's almost always something you can unlock somewhere that you can get a better hat in Ragnarok Online or something like that. 49. In games where you can pick your class, do you always tend to go for the same type of character? No, at one point there was a fundamental switch in my playstyle, and I don't remember when. But at one point, I was the attack guy. I wanted to go in and I wanted to kill everything. And at some point recently, in the past 3 years, I switched to the tanking kind of character. Number 50. If you were a game designer, what masterpiece would you create? My magnum opus would be a game set in the mission accepted universe. It would be a grand strategy game where you would do the resource management, nation management kind of thing. Each planet would be subdivided into however many sectors, a la Star General, it would take, and you would be able to fight over those planets on the ground uh, from a unit perspective, a la Flying Nightmares 2. You could take control of individual machines and direct the rest of the army, like Battlezone, the 1999 Battlezone, or you could keep it at a macro level and play Space Civilization, all with giant robots, all with characters that I created. 51. Have you ever played a game for so long that you forgot to eat or sleep? Not forgot to eat or sleep. Jesus. Forget to eat or sleep? No, but like definitely play down the priority of eating or sleeping. I'm doing this instead of sleeping right now. It's 2:30 a.m. and I gotta be up at 7. So 52. A game that you begged your parents for as a kid. That's a bitter one. I think every game I actually asked for, I didn't get. But a, I don't think I ever begged for a game after a certain point. Like that was almost assuredly, um, that was a guarantee that I wasn't going to get it if I even let them know about it. I'd have to ask my grandmother, which is how I got most of my games. Number 53. What's your opinion on DLC these days? If it's it depends. DLC is such a broad and loaded category now. The DLC for the original Knights of the Old Republic was not worth it. The DLC for uh, Fallout New Vegas is exquisite. I would have paid more for those scenarios. Old World Blues was fantastic, and that got me into the rest of the New Vegas DLC. I probably spent more time on that game than any other Fallout, including the original ones, put together. 54. Do you give in to Steam sales? Of course, I'm human. 55. Did you ever make someone you hated in The Sims and did mean stuff to them? No, never played The Sims. Didn't think it crossed with my interests. 56. Did you ever play Roller Coaster Tycoon and kill off your guests? I think I played the Genesis port, but no. 57. Did you ever play a game to 100% or get all of the achievements by accident? Armored Core 4. In order to get all of the FRS memory, you had to complete a mission on S rank, and that also unlocked the achievement, which I didn't realize basically meant that I completed the game. Actually, I think I'm one achievement down. If that's the case, then I'd say that's the closest. 58. If you can only play 3 games for the rest of your life, which ones do you pick? Just so I can avoid a lot of dead air on that one. Maybe Final Fantasy IV, Star Control 2, and all of the Armored Cores. Do you play any cell phone games? 59. Do you play any cell phone games? No. I'm looking for decent ones, not ones that are just idle games or ones that are uh, waifu delivery systems for DLC. 60. Do you know the Konami code? Up, up, down, down, left, right, be a start or select start if you want 2 players. Jesus. Who do these people think I am? 61. Do you trade in your games or keep them forever? At one point in time, I didn't have any money, so, like, well, I don't have any money now, but, like, no source of income. My copy of the Dreamcast game Project Justice, the second Rival Schools game, is actually technically shared by like 5 people. I put out like a bucket. I started keeping my change in a bucket. I said, this will go to getting Project Justice. And a lot of my friends at the time put change into the bucket. One in particular, I think he owns half the game. But I used to trade in my games all the time. Like that's probably where most of my early inventory went. I forget what game I said, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. on when it finally caught up with me that like trading in is basically a sham unless you're trading in the early copy of Madden for like you're trading in the latest copy of Madden early, like in 2 weeks, so you can get $40 back for it. So you're only paying for a $20 game. So yeah, I guess I keep them forever. I'm more of a collector now, I guess. 62, ever buy a console specifically to play one game? I have bought every console I have played, or I have purchased to play one game. For the 360, it was Chrome Hounds. For the PS2, it was Ring of Red. For I got a Super Nintendo to play Super Mario World. My parents bought me a Nintendo, so I never got that. For the 3DO, it was Star Control 2. I bought a Saturn to play Shining Force 3. Um, PS1 Armored Core 1. PS3, I think that was for Super Robot Wars Alpha 3. But like the first OG S just came out when I bought a PS3, and I could play it then. Or is that PS2? I forget. Doesn't matter. And when I buy a PS4, it will be for the Super Robot Wars: The Moon Dwellers, is that subtitle in English. 63. Ever go to a gaming convention or tournament? Several. 64. Ever make a TV or monitor purchase based on what could be or what would be best for gaming? No. Number 65. Ever have a Game Genie, Game Shark, or Pro Action Replay? Did it ever mess up your game save file? I had a Game Genie. I had a few Game Genies. And no, it never messed up a game save file because some of us know what hex editing is. 66. Did you ever have an old Nokia with Snake on it? No. 67. Do you have a happy gaming-related childhood memory that you want to share? I would say that the quickest, the one that comes to mind is I actually aced a spelling test because I knew what the word radiant was, and I had seen it spelled out multiple times in the original Dragon Warrior. This was during a time when people said that gaming rotted your brain. There was no good of it, but here it actually increased my vocabulary. 68. Ever save up a ton of tickets at an arcade to get something cool? Now I can never. Those like out here, that's like Chuck E. Cheese's, and we can never afford going there several enough times to warrant like saving the ticket and stuff. But I do still have from like 2011, the last time I went to Chuck E. Cheese. I still got like those tickets though. 69. In your opinion, best game ever made? Final Fantasy 4. Moving on. 70. The final question. Very first game you ever beat? Contra. More than likely the original Contra, because I still haven't beat the original Mario Brothers. And you can't beat Duck Hunt. I would say with the 30 lives code in Contra, that was probably the easy bet. Though I don't know why, but all the older people around me at the time said conquering a game. I had to keep correcting them to say beat. But I suppose that's a question for another time.